Hey everyone, Season of Mastery is upon us, and everyone's goal for the following few weeks or months will be to reach level 60 ASAP. SOM will only last 12 months with just a couple months between the phases releasing, and it's not called Season of Mastery for nothing. Your goal is to go fast and be ahead of the curve for when new phases drop. Thankfully, Blizzard made it easier to accomplish that, especially when it comes to leveling. With a bunch of changes introduced to this season of Classic to make everything go faster, Blizzard applied a lot of tweaks to leveling to make your character reach level 60 faster. We're gonna mention some of these changes and tell you how you can take advantage of them, but we'll also take it a step further and give you a bunch of small tips that, when put together, will make your leveling journey significantly quicker. I should mention, a lot of these tips will be hardcore friendly if you plan on leveling the hardcore way, but also want to do it quick. And speaking of quick, let's quickly go through our sponsor for today. So, unless you just discovered the internet today, in which case, thanks for watching, you probably already heard about Raid Shadow Legends, mobile's biggest and best RPG out there. But what you probably didn't know is that it's also available on PC for MMO fans like us. Believe it or not, I've been enjoying Raid super casually for years now on my phone. It's my go-to app when I'm on my way to work to kill some time. My favorite part is leveling my champion and taking on harder and harder bosses. It gives me that MMO vibe. Speaking of bosses, one of my favorite ones is Sylvania, Guardian of the Spirit Keep. I kinda feel bad about fighting her. Her lore is filled with betrayal and losing her family. This encounter is all about healing. If you can keep a healing reduction on her, you'll win this fight. Raid bolsters over 600 champions, a plethora of bosses, and this month the game just received one of its biggest updates yet, introducing the Guardian Ring, a huge feature giving you new ways of using your champions. So if you want to get a huge head start in Raid, click the link in the description to get an epic hero, Konoru, 200k silver, 1 XP boost, 1 energy refill, and 1 ancient shard so you can summon an awesome champion as soon as you get it in game. These rewards will only be available for the next 30 days and only for new players, so don't miss out on them. I'll see you guys in Raid, but for now, let's get back to Azeroth. Alright, so as we said in the intro, Season of Mastery brings a lot of changes to every aspect of the game. What we're interested in this video is leveling, so let's mention the changes that affect leveling in one way or the other. First, obviously, you have the Adventure Awaits buff. This increases quest experience by 40% and dungeon and elite quests experience by about a further 7%. We'll talk about what all of this implies and how you can take full advantage of this to level up super fast. Also, you have the Watcher NPCs in both Ironforge and Undercity. Those allow you to enable hardcore mode on your character. If you die with the buff they give you, you'll get a permanent debuff showing that your character has died. Don't worry, you can remove this debuff at any point if you want, but obviously you'll need the buff to be accepted in any hardcore guild. The other thing that affects leveling is the fact that boosting is now pretty much a thing of the past. For one, now when someone that's way higher level than you is in your group, you'll receive significantly less XP from killing mobs. So this single-handedly kills boosting. But furthermore, now a lot of mobs in all of Stratholme, Maradon, and Zul'Farrak will be way harder to slow down in AoE, putting an end to the age-old mage boosting. Then there's also some other minor changes, like the fact that mining and herbing nodes are now way more abundant around the world. The addition of summoning stones too, but we'll get to those minor changes and see how you can take advantage of them to make your leveling faster. So first off, questing is king now. A big important advice in Classic used to be to grind on mobs as frequently as possible. That's no longer the case now. You can reach max level doing only quests, and in fact, you could skip a few quests altogether and still be completely fine. So what this buff does really is it tells you to kill as few mobs as you possibly can to complete your quest, then move on. So stick to the roads, for example, as you're way less likely to encounter mobs there. If you pull a mob that you don't need, just run away from it. Only do dungeons that you have quests for, and so on. What this buff also implies is that grouping up is now better than ever. Obviously, this is not something you can do on hardcore, but in classic, grouping up was also good, but it always felt like you were leaving something on the table for doing that, as your mob XP is halved. But now, since quest XP dwarves mobs XP, it's always better to group up to get the mobs killed ASAP. Because remember, the mobs are still as powerful as they were, and they're still gonna take as much time to kill. So the faster you kill them and complete your quest, the better, and grouping up is awesome for that. I mentioned dungeons. Dungeons are definitely awesome to do now, which wasn't the case in Classic, because as you can read on the buff, Elite and Dungeon quests give more XP. The buff doesn't mention how much XP exactly, but some people did testing and it turns out it's about 47% more XP. So yeah, dungeons are great to do, but obviously only once and only if you have all the quests for them. It's also worth mentioning that doing dungeons with a full hardcore group is allowed by the rules, but you're only allowed to do it once, which is perfect since that's as much as you want to run a given dungeon anyways, so be sure to make it count and have all the quests for it. Another thing related to dungeons is the existence of summoning stones now. Those are gonna be a huge time saver for everyone doing a dungeon. Keep in mind that those summoning stones have a level range, so you can only use them or summon someone using them if you and your target fall in the level range of the stone. But those stones could also be huge for even people who don't intend on doing a dungeon. One tip you could use, for example, is to summon yourself. So say you're stranded in Ashen Vale and you need to go to Stormwind and quickly come back. You could look for someone around leveling, group with them, summon yourself, then heart to your capital city and quickly learn your new spells or whatever and accept your own summon back. This will also affect where you place your Hearthstone from now, obviously. So, one big downside of having this buff is the fact that now gold is gonna be a big pain in the butt to get while leveling, specifically if you plan on buying your mount at level 40 the moment you unlock it, as that's critical for your leveling speed. When I was leveling through the beta, I made it to 40 with only around 60 gold. I was applying all the usual leveling etiquettes to be able to afford your mount at level 40, but that was definitely not enough, and that's simply because I was leveling too fast, killing way less mobs along the way to 40 and doing less quests overall. So we're gonna talk about the things you can do to remedy that. Obviously, all the previous things from Classic apply here, but let's quickly mention them again. First, be very mindful about the spells you buy while leveling. There's a lot of useless spells for every class. For example, Volley for Hunter is completely useless while leveling, and so is Slam for Warriors. Throw literally everything you get on the auction house, unless its price on the auction house is close to the vendor price, in which case it's better to vendor it. Use bank alts and use the mailing system in general to your advantage. Using the mailing system offers you infinite backspace in a way. You can just throw as many items as you need there and mail them all to an alt of yours, then either return the mail when you need them or simply grab them on that alt you sent them to. Obviously, remember to sell those items as soon as you have time for it, as your goal is to get your 100 gold before level 40. So those are the well-known tips to make gold while leveling, but I guarantee you this will not be enough on its own to afford you your mount at 40. And again, getting your mount at 40 or as soon as possible in general is critical to reach 60 ASAP. So what are some tips you can apply in Season of Mastery to take it a step further? Well, we mentioned earlier the fact that mining and herb nodes are now way more abundant around the world. Usually I would say that with the exception of first aid, focusing too much on professions while leveling is not a good idea, as your goal is to reach 60 ASAP, at which point you'll be making way more gold than you ever could while leveling, and you could level whatever profession faster at 62. But in Season of Mastery, things are a bit different. I think having either or both mining and herbalism is really gonna be useful while leveling to get your mount at 40. Obviously, again, this isn't for hardcore, as you can't use the auction house as hardcore, but for everyone else, I think this is definitely the play. Grab either one or both of those professions and gather anything you see around, and stay on top of that profession to make sure it's high enough before you move to the next zone. Another profession I like a lot while leveling is enchanting. Generally speaking, disenchanting a piece of gear will yield you more gold or silver than if you would otherwise have vendored it. Not always, but in general it does. So what this does is when you get a new piece of armor at any point, instead of just vendoring your old one, you could get more gold or silver out of it by disenchanting it. And the big pro tied to enchanting is that you never need to level it. You can disenchant any piece of armor with as low as 1 enchanting, even a level 61, so do consider that. And then, as a last resort, the obvious advice to make gold before 40 is to simply farm it along the way. There's a lot of low-level farming spots. For example, out of the top of my head, you could farm a bunch of mobs in Stranglethorn to get pages of Green Hills of Stranglethorn. Those are gonna be highly sought after all throughout the season, as you can just turn them in and get a ton of XP. Another awesome spot is the Earth Elementals in Badlands. Elemental Earth is a highly sought after reagent at level 60. So you'll get a lot out of it at low level. And obviously, you can just farm herbs and ores as we mentioned earlier. But yeah, if you apply all those gold making tips, you should be able to get your mount by 40. If you still can't because you're a hardcore character, for example, don't fret. I think the vast majority of players will not be able to do that anyways. So by all means, you can just keep questing beyond 40 until you get enough gold to afford your mount. Level 40 and beyond quests give significantly more gold, so you'll be there quite fast. Alright, let's now finish with a few very useful general tips you can apply to make your leveling both easier and faster. First off, if you remember, in Phase 5, Blizzard introduced 4 more back slots to your backpack for using an authenticator. Having 4 additional inventory slots is huge all throughout your leveling journey, and especially at lower levels. So if you don't have an authenticator yet, take advantage of that. Next, remember Ghetto Hearthing. You can't always take advantage of that in Classic while leveling, but in some situations it could be a huge time saver. If your Hearthstone is on cooldown and you happen to be close to a dungeon that you can enter, group up with someone, give them leader, enter the dungeon, leave the group, and after 1 minute you'll be teleported to your Hearthstone location even while it's on cooldown. Try to always fight mobs that are at or below your level. This is especially true as a melee player. You'll notice you'll be missing most of your attacks the moment the mob you're facing is higher level than you, resulting more than likely in a way longer fight. Thus more health being lost, more downtime, or even death. And you definitely want to avoid that, especially as hardcore. So try to always engage enemies that are at or below your level. If you don't want to bother putting your new abilities on your bar every time you get a new rank, you can make a /cast macro with that ability of your choice. Put that macro on your bar, and that way that macro will always use the highest rank you have learned, saving you the hassle of figuring out which new spell you just learned and replacing your old ranks. So those are just a few tips and tricks for leveling. I still have a ton, but this video is already long enough as it is. So if you want to see more of those, let me know in the comments and I'll make a dedicated tips and tricks video in the future for covering those small tips and tricks that make leveling easier, faster, or both. With that, this marks the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, remember to give it a like and subscribe to the Classic WoW Curios channel for more content like this. I will see you guys in the next one very soon. Bye for now.